Ramesh Gehaney joins us, Executive Director and COO of Endurance Technologies. Ramesh, the city where we are, at least the city where I am in, which is Mumbai, and the state of Maharashtra is an important and a crucial state for the auto sector. More than 25% of India's auto manufacturing, directly or indirectly, is happening in the state of Maharashtra. Is the second wave having an impact on the supply chain for an auto ancillary company like yours?
Morning, Nikunj. That's a good question. In fact, see, the impact of any kind of wave or something doesn't happen immediately. The ripples come in later. So right now, if the industry, any kind of lockdowns or restrictions are not affecting the industry because the industry has been allowed to work. So even the supply chain is working. But I must agree that the number of cases are increasing, and it's more that we should be working towards precautions, as you just now said a few minutes back, that we should be working more towards precautions, which I believe that the industry is very strongly working on, and all sanitization and preventions and all these things are happening very, very systematically and religiously. So nobody wants lockdowns, nobody wants stoppages, and right now I don't see an impact. But if this continues, if this the surge in cases increase and MHA, for that matter, comes in with a guideline of another lockdown or some stricter guidelines, we may see an impact. But right now, there has been no change on the supply patterns. There's been no change on the scheduling patterns of the customers, and there's been no change on the consumption patterns by the customer. Right now, things seem to be okay.
Okay. Have you got any panic calls from your OEMs that you need to boost up the demand, increase your inventory? Are you getting a sense that the supply chain, if disrupted, OEMs are ensuring that they are ramping up production and capacity? And are you getting any feelers?
See, right now, no. There's no panic button, as you asked. There's no panic button as yet. But the OEMs are definitely saying that, suppose if we are stationed in Aurangabad, Pune, for that matter, in Maharashtra, with quite a number of plants, and our customer base is also over here. But even from Maharashtra, we support OEMs. So the caution or the alert is that we should have sufficient stocks from the tier 2s and tier 3s, so that in case we've got to continue with our supplies, the tier 1 responsibility still remains as high as it was always. And I think the go down stocks are good enough right now to hold on to the supplies, and there's no impact seen presently. But again, I'm repeating myself that in case the restrictions, like in some of the states, you must have already seen that the curfew state of right from, or the night lockdown right from 8 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the morning, and in some states 10 to 6 in the morning. So if this has some effect, you'll see that in the coming days, but not immediately. And we are not experiencing any slowdown from anywhere, from either our customers or the supply chain.
Okay. So what we've done, Ramesh, is that we've discussed the demand and your existing conversations with the OEMs. I will take it slightly more back. What about your suppliers, steel companies, plastic companies, the component suppliers? Could there be a challenge of supply disruption happening at your end? So while you can manage the OEM demand, what about your own requirement?
Yeah, so the auto industry and even the tier 1s and tier 2s, they work on a hub pattern. We've got auto hubs, like Aurangabad is one of the hub, Pune is one of the hub, and now you've got Bangalore and Chennai and other places where auto ancillaries are there. Now, the supply chain works on a go down stock basis. You have go downs which are closer to your customers, and you work on a just in time basis to supply components to your customers. Now, if Endurance being a customer to tier 2s and tier 3s, they also have got local go-downs within Aurangabad and Pune from where they supply the material on a daily basis. And right now, sufficient stocks are there, and I don't see any disruptions happening immediately. But as I said, in case guidelines increase, the restrictions further increase, where it has an impact on labor, where it has an impact on the operating conditions of the industry, then we may experience some challenges. The numbers are definitely increasing, and you can expect some stringent guidelines coming up from MHA for that matter. But right now, if you look into what are the conditions from the local authorities, they're allowing the industries to operate. One of the conditions of RT-PCR happening every 15 days and all, that's a bit, too stringent, and we are working towards that. And otherwise, things seemingly are normal right now. No panic button so far.
Ramesh, just to take a leaf out of what you just mentioned, I want to talk about the labor issue. Is there any shortage right now? Because, guidelines aside, what we saw last year was there was a lot of panic and a lot of migration of labor back to, their own villages. Has that started to happen yet?
Well, that's an excellent question. See, let's now compare what happened last year and what's happening this year. Last year, nobody was aware how this pandemic is hitting us all. So there were instant lockdowns, there were instant actions, and the whole system came to a grinding halt. The hospitals and others, they also did not know how to cater to all this inflow, upsurge of patients coming in, so on. The basic difference between last time and this time is that we have got home quarantines which are allowed. Now that has reduced the pressure on hospitals substantially. It would not be out of place to mention that even I was COVID positive just 2 weeks back, and I was home quarantined, and I had no problems. So likewise, there are many more who are home quarantined, and the panic is not as much as seen last time. The course of actions are also known to the doctors. The medication is known. So that's a huge difference. Last year, everybody rushed into panic and, got into isolation as much as possible, and because the course of action was not known. This year, that is one major change. People know how to fight with it. Even if the number of cases are increasing, there is no panic amongst people unless or until a person gets into, serious symptoms where someone has to be hospitalized and needs ICU care. But that's not happening, in that large scale as we must have seen last year. So this year the numbers are increasing. It's higher than what you saw last year. But right now, the home quarantine has helped a lot.
Sure. I hope you're feeling better, Ramesh.
I am. I'm absolutely fine. I'm back to work. Nothing to worry about. And thank you for your wishes.
Okay, great. Also, the other thing that I wanted to talk about, besides raw material, of course, which you just highlighted, also on the shortage of imported components, because, you're already seeing a lot of countries as well get extremely strict and wary about this new strain of the virus, the UK, as well as the Africa variant. What happens to components in this case?
Yeah, see, I think this is a ripple effect of the previous pandemic. What happened, if you recall, last year, the first one to open up or to exit from the lockdowns was China. Now they had back-end orders and they started, supplying all the orders, supplying material on the orders which they had in hand. But the countries in which the material was going, right, they were still under lockdown. They were still not back to normal. So the containers and everything got stuck up at ports. Now, very obviously, if I don't have an outlet for, supply of material to my customers, very obviously the action would be that, you stop incoming material where it is. So the containers, offloading of the containers and emptying out of the containers was a big challenge, which continues to be right now. And that's why you may find that import material is delayed, and there are some issues with imported materials, especially with semiconductors and other things. That's where the major hit is there. But otherwise, we are getting components. Yes. The freight component is on the hard side. So, and the vessel availability and container availability there's definitely a shortage. But increased freight is something that we are all struggling with, because I understand that we are paying as much as 3 times of what we used to pay pre-pandemic to shipping liners, and nothing to blame no one. Just that the containers are not available. You can't have the vessels also going empty. So they had. This shortage will continue, and till the time the supply chain becomes normal or the supply chain comes into a normalcy, these challenges will be there. So we all should find out ways and means how to fight these challenges. It may be a bit of extra cost on freight or other things, but things are moving. There's no standstill situation that, okay, everything has come to a standstill. That situation is not there.
Okay, the impact on the current order book, on the back of these lockdowns, restrictions, and so on, do you see any impact or the current status really that you can share with us?
Yeah, I can. See, the auto industry, especially for components and assemblies which we supply, it's not that the order book which I get today are the orders acquired right now, start working, or we start maturing them out from tomorrow. The products that we are into, it takes the development time and the implementation time is right starting from 1 year to 1.5 or 2 years also in case of brakes and engine components. So I don't think there's any challenge on the order book, because we have booked orders close to 700 crores this year also. And the sales or the revenues which we are clocking this year are a result of the order acquisitions somewhere around 2 years before, which have matured out now, and they're giving us full revenues. So this is how the auto industry works, especially for components like ours and assemblies like what we supply to the OEMs.
Great, Ramesh. Thanks so much for joining us this morning and chatting with us on some of the latest developments there and how things are looking.